This is the Ashlands, Valheim's newest biome. In this video, I'm going to show you the start of our journey to try and conquer this unforgiving place, along with my initial thoughts and the things that I've learnt so far. So to give you some background, we'll be playing on this world that some friends and I used to spend a fair bit of time on. Over a year ago, we managed to defeat the Ashlands boss, and then everyone else immediately stopped playing. So when I loaded in, it was a bit of a surprise to see that I had no equipment and my skills had been decimated. But then it all came rushing back to me. This poor character, Baked Not Fried, was the one that I used in some of my first videos, and over that time it has died in so many stupid ways. I've also destroyed our main base a couple of times, but at least I backed up the world save before doing that. I just wish I did the same with my own character. Being too considerate is definitely my biggest flaw. Anyway, I just used lots of the hard-earned materials everyone had spent many hours collecting to get myself an upgraded set of carapace armour, along with a second upgrade for the Black Forge. For the most part, I'd kept myself spoiler-free, so I wasn't sure which melee weapons would work well in the Ashlands. I settled on the trusty Mistwalker. This gameplay was recorded on the initial public test version of the Ashlands update, and since then, some bugs have already been fixed. I only noticed one visual bug. Weird lines were crossing through terrain that we'd previously terraformed. On the other hand, maybe this was intended by the devs. While waiting for everyone to reunite, we spent a bit of time familiarising ourselves with this world and getting back to doing some of the old chores. Well, actually, I just sat there and recorded it, but don't let that break the immersion. When we were all ready, I picked up the drop from the Ashlands boss, which was no longer a placeholder, but was now the majestic carapace. This allowed us to make the artisan press, a new upgrade for the artisan table, which meant we could now craft ceramic plates. Very exciting. Crafting these plates unlocked a couple more things. Firstly, there was the shield core, which was used to make a shield generator. Based on the description, this shield could protect us from projectiles and also the weather of the Ashlands. More interestingly, we could make a new boat, and it looked massive. We needed more fine wood to build it, so we did the classic chop tree, kill grayling, chop tree. By the time we'd collected enough fine wood, we were raided by some swamp creatures. By expertly and professionally left-clicking until all of the blobs had died,
skill improved, swords 1.
I was sure we were ready for the Ashlands. Before setting off, we decided to go to sleep.
Oh damn it, I pressed F instead of A.
Thank you.
And once again, I had full confidence in my team. The next day, we set off to the harbour. You might notice we were all wearing locks and wolf capes. One new change is that the feather cape now makes you weak to fire, so it seemed like wearing it in a place filled with fire wasn't the greatest idea. At the port, I put down the new dragon boat, and it really did look great.
My God, what a beauty! Oh, look at her.
Taking it for a spin, and it did have a massive turning circle, just like you'd probably expect. We were in the centre of the map, and Ashlands is always located in the far south. So this was a trip that took us all day and all night. The next morning, we were deep in the south and we found our last chance to safely put down a portal in case something went wrong. We didn't do it. I should point out that the devs made a preparation guide to make sure you're ready for the Ashlands. And my idea was that, well, I didn't read it. I started to regret that decision because I was getting worried that the Ashlands weren't loading in this world. It felt like we were getting close to the bottom of the map and we still hadn't seen any sign of the place. That was until we spotted these spiky rocks in the distance.
Oh, I can see.
Here we go,
What is
yeah,
that?
okay, this is interesting.
Oh, there's something in the water.
Ashlands, here we go.
What is that?
No idea.
So, we'd been welcomed to the biome by the new Bonemaw Serpent, and things just got more rough from there. The sea churned as we approached the rocks, and I wasn't even sure if we were meant to try and get this massive boat through such small gaps. Of course, Hugin couldn't wait to tell me all about this place, but we had bigger issues. We couldn't fit through, so I backed up a little and tried again.
Ooh. We're so gonna get stuck here. No, we're stuck.
And
Oh, you were fucking stuck. Alright. Oh,
Oh,
no, we were nice.
after squeezing through the tight spot, things opened up a little. As we kept heading south, The heat became more noticeable, and finally we could see some trees in the distance. So before landing, these tips will save you some misery. Put down a nearby portal before entering the Ashlands, and when you do land, immediately place a portal in a safe area. Of course, fight only when you have rested bonus. Bone mass and fire resistance will help you out a lot, and don't wear the feather cape. Most of these are just standard general advice, but I bring it up because we did very few of these things. The number of enemies overwhelmed us straight away. While we did take down a few of the new creatures, I felt so rusty at this game. I noticed my stamina was regenerating so slowly, but I hadn't realised it was because of the lack of rested bonus. Not long afterwards, and we'd all died without even placing a portal once. So, we'd made zero progress and we'd lost all of our best equipment. We got any armour and weapons that we could, and talking to Hugin confirmed that we probably needed another dragon boat just to make it through the seas alive. This meant we needed to do some more chopping, grey dwarf killing, and chopping. We had plenty of black marble, so making more ceramic plates wasn't an issue. Because we weren't taking any more metal with us, this time we could portal to a swamp biome that was a fair bit closer and build the boat there. As we set off, we said our goodbyes and headed back to the south. This time we did put down a safety portal near the Ashlands, and before going into battle, we got a good night's sleep. The next day, with a full rested bonus, we went back and continued sailing. We also found a much easier path through the rocks back to the land. When we did land, we were much more prepared for what was to come. After taking out one of those annoying vultures, the main aim was to protect the portal that we'd just made. And here's another tip for you: don't build anything on top of these big stones, because this might happen. Despite this setback, we were slowly starting to clear out this horde of enemies. While the other portal was still floating in the air, we placed a second one on much safer ground. The porcupine weapon I was using seemed to be resisted by most of the creatures here, so I decided to go to my tombstone and pick up my old Mistwalker. This seemed to do a much better job. It wasn't long until the battle was won. For now. I was going through the process of picking up my lost equipment and sharing the new materials with others when I overheard this.
Oh, what's going on? There's so much going on.
I gotta run, I'm gonna die. I'm dead, fuck.
So I went back and found out the hard way that I took the portal still floating in the air. I also didn't realise how many enemies there were until they started firing volleys of arrows at me. I did not want to have to make a third boat and come back, so to protect the portals, I selflessly led the enemies away from our stuff. And while you watch me sacrifice myself, since this was recorded, there's been a couple of changes to balance enemy numbers, including fixing a glitch that caused enemies to be alerted to your location way too often. I don't mind having a lot of spawns in an area, but fighting enemies would start to feel pointless because by the time you killed them all, about 10 more will have appeared behind you. I haven't played since they made these changes, but hopefully now they've got the right balance. Anyway, I eventually got absolutely destroyed. Luckily, I was once again able to sleep off my light case of death, and I was free to waste even more of our resources. I picked up more drops from the Ashlands, which unlocked many more build pieces, but I hadn't yet found anything to make new weapons. The next day, we went back as a group. The area was clear, and we got the shield generator working by adding bones as fuel. We didn't really get much time to check it out because this new monstrosity appeared.
Oh my god, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Oh god.
Whoa! Oh, he just right through the barrier.
This enemy, the Morgan, breaks the trend of large creatures also being slow.
Alright, he's taking spirit damage, but looks like he's resisting slash.
Morgan.
The fact that it moves around so much does at least give you time to get back stamina and prepare for its next attacks. Luckily, it didn't seem too interested in breaking our stuff, but in any case, we tried to keep it away from the portal. After taking it down, we didn't have time to waste. I started to get some of my better equipment from my tombstone, and I finally got a chance to check out some of the other enemies properly. The lava blobs just self-destruct, which interestingly also damages any other nearby enemies. Like most archers, the charred marksman isn't a problem in a 1v1, especially when you get in close. The charred warrior doesn't stay staggered for long and has a few different moves. One in particular tries to throw off your timing, which is pretty cool. The twitches are just meth heads that got lost and accidentally ended up in the Ashlands. They're the grunts of the area and seem to be the least dangerous. Just staying near the base kept attracting more enemies to us. I now know this was probably due to the glitch, but it didn't make sense to stay here and just have to constantly fight. So we started exploring further into the biome. After getting the rest of my things from the tombstone, I started placing campfires to try and suppress the new spawns. I also checked out something pretty important to me.
Gotta test something out. Oh, they do burn! Yes! My challenge, I can do it!
Moonin was hovering in the air just to tell me something that did not help us at all. So we decided to just head further inland. We ran into another Morgan, this time a 1-star variant, and by the time we were finally about to kill it, you guessed it.
Oh Jesus.
Another one!
Holy shit, there's two.
On a more positive note, there was a green light in the distance that looked very promising. Before we could investigate, we ran into another new creature, the Askspin. If you don't know, this text here means it's able to be tamed. There was, however, a bit of a mix-up where we simultaneously dug a hole to trap and tame it, while also killing it. We weren't too worried. Based on how many creatures we'd already seen, we knew it wouldn't take long to find another one. It was getting dark. We were going to turn back for the day, but in the distance we saw something new.
Oh, some big wings in the distance. Yeah?
Yeah, big wings.
Yeah,
Shit.
like a giant dragon.
Against our better judgment, we went to see what this creature was. It was called the Fallen Valkyrie, and unfortunately we didn't have the chance to appreciate it because once again there was now another army ready to fight us. It seemed to have a range attack that would cause a patch of ground to catch on fire, and it could also do this Crash Bandicoot spin attack. A member of our party was getting low on health, so the rest tried to slow the enemies down a little while they headed back to the portal.
I got enough fucking stamina.
Oh, nice parrying.
Of course, we didn't want to lead them all back there, so we tried to slowly thin out their numbers. We did take out a fair few enemies, but despite our best efforts, the Fallen Valkyrie, along with a couple of other enemies, did indeed make it back to the portal. We weren't doing too well, so we bravely decided to just leave the enemies there. Luckily, they're always kind enough to wait there without breaking your stuff when you're not around. Back at the base, I picked up the Askspin hide. This unlocked a new set of light and mage armors. I also checked out the workbench and found that I could now make a couple of types of payloads, which, according to the description, could be launched by catapults. This would have been really cool, you know, if we'd got the stuff to make a catapult. The next day, while everyone was getting prepared for the fight, I found some friendly Greydorse to help me work on my shield skills. And once we were all ready, we gathered, determined to take out the creatures near our portal, and for once, actually make some progress. Standing in the rain, we used the bone mass power, and then headed back in. When we came out the other side, the Fallen Valkyrie was waiting for us. It was nice enough to use a fire attack and help me dry off. It was cool seeing the shield protect us from its ranged attacks when it moved outside the barrier. And although it may have seemed like a heartless monster, it was considerate enough to help out melee players by going to ground level. In the end, the shield protected us from one final attack before we promptly sent it back to Jesus. This time, the plan was to make our way to the green beam in the sky without stopping and fighting everything along the way. There was just one problem. That big hole we made to try tame the Askspin? Yeah, we kind of forgot about that. The number of enemies was getting pretty crazy, so we did once again end up clearing out the place. Originally a hindrance, this hole did come in handy when a Morgan got stuck in there. We left it in timeout so we could think about what it had done. We kept making our way towards the light, and the path ahead was filled with lava. Call me crazy, but trying to swim through it was probably a bad idea, so instead we went around the side. I couldn't resist seeing what the unstable lava rock would do, and surprise, surprise, it exploded. Inside was what I'll always read as prostitute powder. After taking down yet another Morgan, we finally had a clear path to the source of the green light. This was the Charred Fortress. It seemed heavily protected, and one of the team decided to see what would happen if you ran into the door covered in spikes. Pretty much what you'd expect. On the top of one of the corners, there was a ballista that looked just as useless as the one that you can make, as well as some archers. We made our way to the other side, which was much more quiet, and we tried using the demolisher to break down the walls. It wasn't doing any damage, and I think knowing we probably needed to make the catapult to get in made us give up much more quickly. On the way back, we saw a charred warlock. It mustn't have been very popular with the others since they pushed it off the wall. Now my recording cuts out here, but you can see it summon a twitcher, which looked pretty cool. We did end up killing it, but you'll just have to imagine that. That night we headed back without any loss of life. It felt like kind of a failure because we didn't gain anything new, but on the other hand we now had something to aim for. And it was clear that we were missing materials needed to make something to break into that fortress. The next morning and we were greeted by another surprise. A new type of raid. Now I'm not sure where this Diverger came from, but it seemed happy to help us out, so I wasn't complaining. These raids create more Monuments of Torment, which spawn enemies until they're destroyed. We'd already taken out a lot of these in our short time in Ashlands, and at least without these new patches, destroying them didn't seem to make much difference to the number of enemies. Anyway, as the raid ended, the Diverger definitely wasn't enjoying this new update. I let him be as we went to destroy the other spawners, since they don't seem to disappear after the raid is over. After we'd cleared up the area, we then explored in another direction. We could see what looked like a massive building in the distance, and as we entered, it was clear that these were ruins. Before exploring more, we did have to turn around and fight everything that had started following us, so that they couldn't destroy the stairs leading into the building.
Alright, almost there. Couple more now.
Just 3,000 more.
Just a few thousand.
When we'd taken care of the last of them, we were finally able to enter the building. I was surprised to see they'd turned Valheim into a platformer, where if you fall, you probably lose all of your stuff forever, and it seems like your only goal is to break as much pottery as you can. That was pretty much all we did in here. There was this giant rock sticking out of the lava that looked different to everything else I'd seen. But before we could investigate, we got another weird lizard thing in our way. I almost felt bad teaming up on it like this, but then I remembered that that's what this biome had been doing to us the whole time. To get to the rock, we made a path through the ruins so that we didn't need to try jump over the lava. The creatures really didn't want us checking out this funny looking rock, as another ask spin literally jumped out of the lava just to get in my way. After we dealt with it in a similar manner to the previous one, we finally found what we were looking for: flamemetal ore. Just the act of mining this ore was probably enough to alert every single creature in the whole goddamn biome to our location. First, a Morgan appeared by itself, but it didn't take long from there for chaos to erupt. I was just concentrating on not getting knocked into the lava when tragedy struck.
Oh!
No! What bullshit!
So it seems that mining some flamemetal ore starts a timer for the whole thing to sink, just like when mining chitin on the backs of leviathans. Maybe the stupid bird was trying to warn us, but it was hovering out of reach in the air. We didn't have time to think about this right now because we still had another massive fight on our hands.
Shit came out of nowhere all of a sudden. Shoot your fire potion on.
Ah, my health.
Yeah, I'm getting owned a bit as well.
After the battle was won, we could see another flame metal rock in the distance, but this one was surrounded by lava. It was getting late, so we picked up what little ore we'd been able to mine and headed back. The next day, I'd found out we'd got ourselves a grand total of 16 flame metal ore. While this definitely wasn't much, I couldn't wait to smelt it and see what it would unlock. Unfortunately, this meant we needed to take one of our boats all the way back to our blast furnaces at home. I was considering trying to jump over the boiling water directly onto the boat that we wanted to take, but in the end, we did the sensible thing and went around the long way. While I was still trying to back the boat out, one of those serpents appeared, and we learnt that it actually has a ranged attack. Great. It felt like this serpent was toying with us, taking chunks out of the ship for fun. Meanwhile, I was trying to do a 50-point turn just to try get the boat in the right direction. Even though it was risky, as soon as I could, I unfurled the sails and went at full speed just to try get away from the thing. Unfortunately, the wind decided now was the best time to change direction and slow us down. While the ship was so massive that it felt like it was taking up half of my screen at times, at least it seemed to be extremely sturdy. I mean, it must have been to withstand all of these attacks. We were still being followed as we crawled to a halt with the seas churning once again. Nonetheless, we pushed forward, and as we started to get past the rocks, the seas calmed down and the water became what was probably too cold for the serpent to follow us any further. We were finally free from this absolute hell. For now. I'll save you the 40-minute trip back and get to the good stuff. Smelting the flame metal ore unlocked so many new things. The next set of heavy armor was available, and it even had built-in heat resistance. I also could make this sick-looking battering ram, which I'm sure would be useful for those fortress doors. Also, I am so keen to try ride one of those axe fin things. I'm wondering if there's another way to get more of the ore before it sinks into the lava. Possibly this new stuff of fracturing might help with that, and it seems like these bombs might let us cross the lava. I really don't know, but I think the plan will be to take more metals back to the Ashlands and try out the battering ram. So far I'm enjoying this more than the Mistlands. I love the visual design, and hopefully now they've got the right balance on enemy numbers. There are so many things that I still want to try out, and I can't wait to play it more. I haven't decided if I'll make this a series of videos, so let me know if you'd like to see more, because we will definitely continue this playthrough, but I'm just not too sure if I'll be recording it as well. So I'll leave it there. As always, thank you so much for watching. Cheers. Congrats to Axebejo or whatever it is. Here's your lame shout out.